everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Lorraine Gamman. I run this thing called Design Against Crime, and we're based at Central St Martin's. I'm a professor of design, and I'd like to welcome you to this, which is the third seminar in the Graffiti Dialogue series. And the reason we're in Bristol is that obviously it's a really great place to do. There's lots of activity here, but also I did want to try and respect your confidentiality and anonymity. It was easier for us to be outside of London. Okay, so the first part I'm going to try and go through is linked to why have anything on graffiti at all. I think that to explain sort of why we're here, it makes sense to sort of talk about how we got started. So basically we got some funding from the ESRC and the AHRC to connect communities. And you can see there's a different moment. Cameron gave Barack Obama a banana picture, and it seemed to me that there was a chance at this political moment to do something else, and I want to try and talk about what that is. So the first question I have is it possible at a time when there's political change and significant funding cuts to create a different discourse about the value of graffiti, one that makes it possible to understand the positive contribution that graffiti makes rather than simply promoting cleaning? And recently, when I was asked to go and speak to the anti-graffiti conference, when I suggested to them that we shouldn't spend money cleaning graffiti when other services have been cut, I can see that hit a nerve, and I think that's quite an interesting moment to be talking. So why us? Why me? Why are we here? Well, first of all, I'd say that you probably know this already, but Central St Martin's is part of University of the Arts, London. We have 26,000 staff and students, and their focus is art and design practitioners. The Design Against Crime Research Centre that I direct has won awards for research and design innovation, and it's managed to address crime, which is a negative, while promoting a positive. So to give you an example, our Bike Off project, which is led by Adam Thorpe, basically deals with the issue of trying to promote more cycling whilst raising money via the crime agenda to deal with the things that prevent cycling happen. So we don't just look at crime, what people want less of, we look at what people want more of. And it was pretty clear to us they wanted more cycling in London. And so by mobilising around the fact that people were getting their bikes in it, particularly our students, it gave us a way of dealing with, I suppose, one of the biggest deterrents to cycling, which is if people lose their bike, they stop cycling. I know safety is a big issue too. And so what we tried to do on that project is use our base and the crime agenda to actually put something forward that was positive. And we're hoping to do the same with the issue of graffiti. So why are we running a research project about graffiti? I suppose that Design Against Crime, you know, we're not just some police initiative, we're based in an art college. And what we try and do is influence social agendas in quite a sort of, how can I put this, a diverse way. And so often you get let in because you look like you're representing, I suppose, an anti-crime position. But basically we're about socially responsive design, and like we're into looking at social issues, social impact and social change. And it seems to me that this is a moment when a committed community may be able to bring some sort of change, particularly around issues concerning policing and sentencing. I also want to make the point that we don't just work on crime, we work on many other issues, but the crime one is what we're known for, and that's what usually gets us in the door. So what is the social agenda regarding graffiti? Well, it's complex, isn't it? But basically, it occurred to us that UAL's critical mass and DAC's track record means that we could probably raise some issues that haven't been heard in the way they should have been heard. Some of our team are on what's called the Design Technology Alliance. I advise them on business, and that's a Home Office initiative. So yesterday when I had the Home Office into the office and asked them what is their policy on graffiti, they said there wasn't a central policy, it was all localised. I just said, well, surely broken windows comes from, you know, of a directive, the idea about broken windows, and it really wasn't an answer. So what? You know, since about 2008, DAC have been trying to sort of contribute to understandings about public safe, and we've been invited by the South Bank Centre in London and by Transport for London to talk with them about graffiti. We've also been invited by the Anti-Graffiti Association, the British Transport Police, as well as the Metropolitan Police to talk about graffiti. I did start to get worried at one point that one of the officers from the British Transport Police sort of thought, yeah, 26 staff and students with cans and pens, and that's another reason why I'm here, as opposed to in London. And we advise them as we can, but we're independent, and by that it's like usually who pays us? Right, the college pay us, and we get money from independent funding. We don't take money from the Home Office unless they disseminate our own work, the bikes, stands they like to promote, but we're not funded by them, so we really are independent. So it's not like some CIA plot that we've just come here to pretend to be something else because we're not. I suppose I'd talk differently if we did. Right, so why now really? I think the whole regeneration question is really interesting. Like what I can see, there's a lot of good practice across Britain where street artists seem to connect with communities in ways that the government hope to do so and don't. And so it's one of the things that we try to do in the first two seminars is actually look at what I call the activity support or the social inclusion projects, because in terms of writing and thinking about graffiti that comes from criminology, those projects are usually disregarded. And so one of the things we've been trying to do is get people in to talk about their projects so that we can figure out how to make that information more known. Because if you're a council and you've got a choice between cleaning graffiti or investing in it, why do you make the choice to clean it? And it seems to me that sometimes it's that the information about what's been successful elsewhere or what's been a vibrant addition to communities is not known. And so one of the jobs with the website, which you're all welcome to engage with, is that we're trying to put stuff up there so that we can refer people to it and say, I'm sorry, but there is other work, and here it is. So that's one of our projects. And we started with the South Bank in London. They got in touch with us because the police wanted the South Bank to create a registration system, and they asked us to advise them on whether they should do that. And we advised them we didn't think they should do that. And if they did do it, it should be an anonymous and creative way. And I think they were going to stick with that, but they wanted somebody else to confirm that they'd made the right decision, so that's how we ended up on that one. So why now? I think I said why now. It's a challenging political moment. And it seems to me there's an opportunity here to grab something. I find some of the accounts that I've heard from previous seminars interesting. You know, the police officers in Brighton who are responsible for cleaning up graffiti have a double strategy. Some parts they clean it because the community moans, and some parts they give it over. And it seems to me that if we can make that information available to other people, that's really a useful piece of information. And I reckon the government might buy it because guess what, it'll be cheaper. Okay, so that part of it is to figure out how to address. And you might say, actually, we don't want permission, and if we give us permission, we don't want to do it that way, and that's a different debate. But my interest is actually trying to see a diverse range of strategies to deal with graffiti rather than following the American model, which escalates and has escalated the sort of, I suppose, pursuit of what's called offenders. Okay, so our aims are to join things up, but how we're going to do that I don't really know, which is why I thought I'd get you in. But the point about the money is a really interesting point, and it's quite interesting. If you actually try and trace how money is spent on graffiti cleaning, you find it very, very difficult to actually get exact figures. We work with the Giordano Institute of Crime Science, and they can't get the exact figures either. It's shed loads of money, and I think some of it is covered up. I'd like to know how much, because my thing is that money is a slight struggle, right? That money, why are they spending our tax? And the argument is that people don't like it, I'm going to come to that, I don't agree. So I think that the first thing is establish how much, and then establish why. And really, I've had lots of different researchers, particularly Marcus, students and graduates from the Giordano Institute, and it's been really hard, despite all the effort, to figure out where this money is being spent and buy food. But there is a lot of dosh, and we can give figures between 6 million up to 100 million. Whether any of them are true, I don't know, which is why I'm not quoting them now. So what I found is that few surveys actually about graffiti ask people what they like. They say to them what don't you like, and then people tell them. And so the answer that is identified may, and it may not be, the answer that was predictable. It seems to me that one of the things that somebody should do is actually do a survey where they ask people what graffiti they liked. I was told that Bristol were doing that, but my office have pursued the council and we've met with no answer as to whether that is true. It was in the press, that's why we thought it was happening. I don't know if you have any more information here. No. Okay, so
Ruth, you
I've done sort of community level stuff like that to just set images around and try to deal with the complainers and see what they did like. So, yeah.
And have you found what you're finding?
There always tends to be a few sort of styles that stand out that kind of generally communities like more, but then it's quite diverse what people like.
Okay, well Marcus here, he took, I think it was something like, Marcus, perhaps you could tell, how many people did you take around and where? Okay.
No, this was a project that wasn't really to do with graffiti, but I worked on with a colleague, and we took about 20 people around about 6 areas of London that they didn't know, and just said to them, what are your instincts, what do you like and what don't you like, tell us what you feel about this place. And quite a lot of the areas that we took people through had different types of graffiti, and when we were sort of collecting the response, we ended up with about 256 sets of responses. And interestingly, there were only 2 of them that made any comment at all about the graffiti, and a lot of it was about the chewing gum on the floor, or about the dirt, or the other things around them, or the nice plant that they happen to like. And so we were trying to get people to identify the details that were making them feel how they felt in different environments. And a lot of the discourses that say, oh yeah, graffiti makes environments feel terrible, but when we didn't specifically ask people about it, they didn't seem to pick up on it. And so it was just sort of flagged up to me how important it is to talk about it in context, not out of context. Because I think if we're talking about this as something that's in the built environment...
Alright, so the gist is, if we do another research project,
we need to ask...
Well, I'll ask people in a systematic way. This was a small qualitative research project. One of my ambitions is to do a massive quantitative one where we ask different questions and see if it produces different answers. Because it seems to me that every time, I also represent DOCA, which is a police-led organisation. Whenever I argue, they always say, but the facts show that. And I go, what facts? And they'll quote some survey that was with a very small group. So it would be very nice to have a larger survey that maybe showed different findings. I suppose the last thing I wanted to get back to, give it back to you. And so it seems to me that there is issues about what is the code of practice for graffiti, and the police very often tell us, don't listen to the street artists, it's absolute rubbish, there is no code of practice, they don't care about anybody. And it seems to me that there is some suggestion that it's always about malicious intentions, and sometimes it might be. There are some kids, I think they have mental health problems, sorry, but they don't really care about anyone, they don't even care about their own work sometimes. I find that shocking from an art perspective. But we do wonder if, in terms of making a case for regenerating communities using street art, whether there is any feeling about developing a code of practice, and it may be that there's not, but if there is, we'd like to hear what other people are saying.